This is Miss Pie again, and in this video I'm going to graph two square root functions, and I'll show you how to do those, and I'm also going to show you how to limit them. Now the square root function, the basic square root function, let me just pull it up real quick, is just square root of x. When you look at it, you get this shape here. Okay. Now I want to use this equation to graph this part of my wing right here, just part of the feathers. I think that'll be a good fit if I can move it that way. So I need to move it to the left, and I also need to move it up. So let's go ahead and get started on that one. Now if I want to move it to the left, I need to go inside the radical right here, and I'm going to put parentheses around the x, and I'm going to move it because it's going left. I need to do a plus sign, and let's see how far over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, approximately 7 units to the left, and then maybe 2 units up. So I'm going to do a plus 7 there. And then outside of the radical, notice I've moved my cursor so it's outside of this radical box. I'm going to add 2 to it, and I'll just do a plus 2. And when I do that, I get this really awesome curve that looks like it fits that feather really well. And I want to go ahead, and while I'm at it, I'm going to change my attributes and my color so it matches. And I'm going to make this a little bit thicker. And then let's also change the color. Set conditions. And I want my color to be brown, so it'll be a 5. So I'll just put a 5 there for the line color and then push OK. And then let's go ahead and look at that. Okay, so that looks really good from my feathers, but I need to limit it right here where it's at. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not quite 6 units to the left. But I do need to limit that, so I'm going to go ahead and push Control equals to pull up my such as line. And then in this case, usually you have to do 2 limits. You have to limit this side and this side of the graph, but if you notice, my rational function starts right here. So I don't need to limit this point at all. I just need to have it stop here. So I'm going to put my limit as x has to be less than or equal to negative, I think maybe let's try 5.8 maybe. That's a total guess. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so that looks pretty good, but it ends a little bit too short. So I want to extend that line a little bit more. And so maybe instead of a 5.8, maybe try a 5.5 and see how that looks. Okay. And when I put the 5.5 in there, it looks like it hits that line really well. And so I'm satisfied with this square root function here. Now that I'm good on the equation, I'm going to go ahead and delete the equation to hide it. And the next thing I want to graph is this part of the beak right here. And I am going to use a radical or the square root function again. So let's go ahead and pull it up to get started. It's just a square root of x. And with this one, I have several different transformations I'm going to do. I want to reflect it across the y-axis, and I also need to move it to the right. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the right, and maybe 1 unit up. Okay. So to move it to the right, I'm going to put this in parentheses, the x in parentheses, and do -4. And then on the outside, I said 1 unit up, so +1 on the outside. And then I need to reflect it across the y-axis. And so usually we know that when we need to put a negative somewhere to get it to reflect. Now with this, if I do it there, it reflects it across the x-axis, not the y-axis. So I don't want a horizontal reflection. I don't want a vertical reflection, I want a horizontal reflection. So I'm going to put the x minus 4 back in parentheses, and I'm just going to put a negative sign right in front of the x minus 4. Okay, and let me move that down, and there we have the shape in the right spot, but it's too high. This curve is a little bit too high. I want it to go to about here. So now I need to compress it vertically. And to compress it vertically, I need to multiply by a number that's between 0 and 1. So let's try maybe 0.5 and see what we get with that one. Okay, so 0.5 looks like it works really well. Let's go ahead and make this line thicker. And that looks really good at 0.5. It hits this line really well. It doesn't quite get all of the curve of the beak, but you could definitely tell that it's the beak of the eagle. Okay, so now we need to limit it. And again, because this is your starting point, you don't have to put a limit over here. We just need to limit it right here. And it looks like maybe, let's see, maybe 2.5 or 2.75 is where we want it to stop. Okay, so in this case we're going to do, let's say 2.5. We'll try 2.5 first, and that needs to be less than, let me see, I think I need to do less than or equal to x, but it may need to be greater than or equal to x. Let's see what it is. Yep, that is what I want. So all of this part over here is going to disappear, and I just have this section, and it looks like it hits pretty well. It goes a little bit past the chin, which is the way it should be, and then I'm setting up this area perfectly for this little curvy spot here. All right, so there I just graphed two square root functions, and notice I was able to turn one of them this way and one of them this way.